Okay, so welcome to everyone to this general sponsor panel in Mentoring Hour. In this panel, we have representatives from our sponsors, from our keynote speakers, and also from our mentors. So first, I would like to give the opportunity to all our panelists to present themselves. So to give a few words on who they are and who are they representing. So there is no order, so please go as you prefer to start. Thank you. I don't know. Like, sorry for that.
So hi everyone, I am Marcel Santos. I work for Apple as a research scientist. I am graduated from Universidade Federal de Pernambuco. I joined Apple for 2 years now. And yeah, thank you for the invitation for the workshop.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello everyone, I'm Kleber Zanettin. I'm a professor at Federal University of Pernambuco in Brazil. And I've been working with machine learning, and I'm also a professor at Northwestern University here in Chicago.
I'm Arturo Deza. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Artificio, and I'm also professor in computer science in Peru at LatinX. And happy to just in general talk about academia, startup world, and industry. So thank you for having me here.
Okay, I'm Estefania Talavera. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Twente in the Netherlands. I've been part of LXAI for some years as chair. This year I'm not, but I'm here as part of the mentoring program. I've been mentored for several years, and that's about it.
Hi, my name is Elena Romero Soriano. I just gave the talk and I was introduced, so I'll let I will speakers to introduce themselves.
I am Negar Sanzote from Google Research.
Thank you. So, Gilberto Schwartz from Technical Monterrey. I've been helping with LXAI for 5 years now, and I've been helping Dustin and Ivan with a mentoring program.
Thank you all for the introductions. And before to start actually with the panel and the discussions, I would like to mention just a few statistics regarding our mentoring program, because as part of the workshop, we also organize a mentoring program that has been running for several weeks, and it's going to continue running after even this event. So in this edition, we actually received more than 50 applications for the mentees from more than 10 countries. And after reviewing all these applications and based on the academic performance and based on the motivation and trying to keep as much of the diversity as possible from the applicants, we selected 25 students that are working right now in our mentoring program. But also this mentoring program couldn't be done without the help of our mentors. So I also want to mention that we also received applications for mentors. We reviewed based on the expertise from the mentors in the previous experience in mentorship programs and the goals and the motivation from them. And we selected 20 mentors from 6 countries and in total representation of 13 different institutions all around the world. So I want to again thank you all our mentors and congratulate our mentees for being part of this program. In this edition of the mentoring program, it has been focused on the dissemination of artificial intelligence research. And that's why I would like to start this discussion panel with that topic, the challenges on how to disseminate artificial intelligence research. And for this discussion, there is no specific order. So for all the panelists, you can give your opinion, you can give your answers at any moment. So there is no specific order. So also if a question you don't want to provide an answer, it's fine. You just answer all the questions that you would like to answer in any order. So to start with this discussion, I would like to mention that lately we know that artificial intelligence tools have been accessible by more users. And these have raised some concerns around the general public. Like we have heard lately claims like AI will basically start feeling like as humans do or thinking as humans. And we know that these are common misconceptions and these are fears from the general public. So I would like to start with a question to all the panelists of how do you think that we can address these common misconceptions and fears from the general public? So yeah, anyone who wants to start?
I'm on spot. Yeah, I think like, maybe like part of the responsibilities of like maybe more senior people in this field, both in academia and industry, would be to talk more about like realistic concerns and concerns that like, I mean, concerns and applications that are not close to reality. So for example, I mean, you mentioned to some real fears, like fears of like maybe like losing jobs because of these technologies or some of the actual harms that these technologies could create. But then also like there are some concerns that make like it's very like there are so much debates and discussions about or like not really concretely defined or like it's not really clear the goal. So it's I think it's very important like as more senior people in the field to discuss have more nuanced discussion about this.
I will continue. So basically, the kind of the idea arises actually because especially in Latin America, we have a shortage of people that actually know about this kind of topics. And for example, I've been invited to TV programs to talk about like I don't know Elon Musk versus OpenAI and whatever. And it's always because they cannot find people that can talk. And for me, it's like I'm talking about like soap operas or like gossip. So sometimes very stupid to be honest. Huh? So the idea I would say in these programs what we need to do is educate that because otherwise people will just buy whatever they say. So I think it's important to bring students to this kind of thing so they will talk to the families, the parents, and so on. So that's kind of the idea of this program.
And just to add to that, people are very concerned about many things, no, of what AI can do and cannot do, but people do not know like many regulations are there. They are not aware that the governments have some regulations in place, that there are licenses to use software. I think the audience needs to know about much more than only the application itself, but that surrounds us, that is already in place actually, or being defined. At least in Europe, right? They are so crazy about defining things. It improves, I guess, in other countries are similar. No, there are similar things happening.
Yeah, something. Oh, let's see. Okay, something that reminded me, given the soap opera joke, is that when I was in graduate school, I used to. Well, Twitter was not really a thing. I think now it's been very active for everyone who does AI, and I encourage grad students, even if they don't like the gossip, to know about the papers people are publishing in Twitter. That before you would have to actually go to the conference to know, who is popular, quote unquote, or irrespective if you don't like that word, who's doing research that you want to know more about. I think it's easily accessible. But going more to the educating the public, I think now, even as a young professor, or even if I run a small startup, that I think I have a voice that I should capitalize and call people out when like, oh, we raised 500 million to do this thing that you just need less than $1 million to do. Yeah, I would before maybe 5 years ago think this is a waste of my time. Why would I do this, right? But now I'm very open in a non-bullying way, but in a polite way to say, hey, maybe this is not optimal or efficient allocation of capital. And I think that we should educate our students to think that way too, and not feel prohibited to share their opinion publicly and to educate the public. And sometimes in families say, oh, it's ChatGPT está consciente, and I'm like, no, ChatGPT is not conscious. But some people believe this, right? So if no one does the job, it's really, whether they like it or not, our responsibility to do a bit of that. So yeah, those are just my general thoughts.
So I'll just say that, yeah, I agree with everything that has been said. I think a lot of the work has to be put into educating and essentially working on the communication so that the general public can also understand where we are at and maybe not freak out like saying whether ChatGPT is inviting someone or I don't know. But yeah, beyond that, I think like going back to maybe the more real problems like jobs that Stefania here was mentioning. I think it's also important to communicate in this direction. I don't think
people should have like a discretion in the sense that maybe communicating that AI is not here to replace human, but to sort of help us be more efficient in our work, for example, and maybe motivating people to learn how to use these tools to become more productive in their jobs. And so maybe the next generation of workers that will come will rely on having these skills. So maybe the society in general understands that, and they can also be better prepared for the change.
I also agree, and I think as everyone now is AI experts is a problem because but then what they create is like they create AI as an entity, and then the entity cannot be like challenged or you can contest. And then I think our job here is like try to explain how it works. And when you explain how AI works, how the method works, they say, oh, it's not like too difficult and can't be done by that. And then at the moment, as we are programming the methods, and then we are training the models, we can like deal with it. And at the moment, maybe when they start to train themselves, then we can like have a little fear. But right now, I don't think we are in this direction. And I think we need to, we have a lot of interest in AI, we need to enjoy that and then teach people to use the tools and use that as a kind of tool to improve themselves and not be aware of.
Yeah, I think the open source community also has an important role on that because it raises a bit of awareness of the technology. I think there's been a lot of companies focus on open source contributions and other individuals that are also engaging in these public repos or repositories. And I think this is important in general because it makes more accessible for the general public these models and data. And in the end of the day, it brings more and more material for us as researchers to improve our models and to contribute as well. So I think there is an important communication between the open source communities and academia and industry that I think one benefits the other, and I think it's for the public in general is truly beneficial.
Okay, thank you all for the comments, and actually going back a little bit to the comment of Clever, where he was saying that yes, one way is to try to explain to the people, to the non-experts, how the things work. But there we have kind of an issue because it's trying to explain really complex concepts of artificial intelligence to non-experts actually. So how do you think that we can do progress on that area? So how do you think that we can make more accessible the research that we do in artificial intelligence to the general public, that they don't have the background of a computer scientist or someone who is working in artificial intelligence? So what can we do?
I think we already have like some programs to try to teach young students to use AI, and then maybe we need to open the box and say, start simple, because right now everyone is starting like for deep learning models, very complex models, but AI is not just like that. We have like a lot of life outside deep learning, and then we can start to teach how AI works, how we can learn from samples, how we can like generalize from that, how we can solve different problems. Because what I think the problem is like everyone is selling an AI like end-to-end AI, and what I think we still have is like we have a process, you have a problem, you should like be able to break the problem in small parts and show the best AI you have for each part of the problem. And as you can explain that, you can explain with single tests and solve a problem and improve the performance. And maybe even there's some parts of the process you don't need to use AI. I think we will open the mind of the students and open the mind of non-experts. So how you can improve your work, your job, or anything you are trying to do. This is a way. Not sure it's the right one, but I think it's the start.
Yeah. Anyone else wants to give an opinion on that?
Not really, so something I thought of. But there are people that actually their jobs are focused on explaining AI, right? Like storytelling and so on. And I think, I mean, those people exist. So I think we need to reach them more often to help us to also disseminate what is being done, no? Create blogs and so on that would help not only the adults, like the community in general, but also the young people. So I'm thinking of like young people in general, but I'm thinking also females and like people that do not think of aiming at this career. Just to dissemination, right? And there are people that know what storytelling and can also help in that regard. I think we should also try to reach them.
Yeah, I will talk about there is this big road in Mexico, in Jalisco, the state elite is called LatinX, and they have like this program, like dozens of students come to do camp, learning camps and stuff, and organize workshops. So I actually did one with time machine learning. And basically, I was expecting high school students because normally the high school students, and I was teaching them how to, for example, recognize gesture with the iPhone, putting a model and then running the model, and then taking some pictures to recognize hands. But actually, I was very surprised that I saw their models for them. So basically, we're studying the models to train models and machine learning. It was very funny. This was frustrating as well because, of course, the ladies were not able to program this. And to teach them like, okay, to start that, you have to configure and stuff. But it was very, very interesting. I think it's important because if you want these kids to, or children to join, do computer science and AI and so on, I think it's important, but it's of course time consuming as well, right? So I think as Stephanie was saying, I think it's important as well to join people that are good at doing this kind of.
Yeah, if I can add something as well. So for me, I agree with everything that has been said so far, but I always think that there is always the way, we can always find a way to communicate. And I think most of the time it's thinking what's the right level of abstraction, depending on who your audience is. So something like, to put it maybe to the extreme, something that I asked myself before even thinking of how to explain a concept is how would I explain this concept to a 5-year-old? And I think this is a good exercise. How would you explain something to a child? Because it doesn't mean that you will explain it in the same way to the audience that you have, but I think it's a good starting point to have the highest possible level of abstraction and then work on from that. And I found this useful. So it's just like maybe to reiterate that I think it's always about finding the right level of abstraction and eventually supporting ourselves with people whose jobs are in the communication side.
Yeah, something about to add on the communication side is because I remember having she's still my friend, but she's a friend who's at MIT who does a lot of dissemination in neuroscience. She does a great job, Jessica Chomik, in all this, and she's very young and talented and motivated. And I think there should be more people like her, for example, who know the science and can talk about this. And she interviews a lot of scientists from, I think, Latam. Maybe we'll try to see if she can join us maybe next year. But I had this other interesting experience about scientific dissemination where, I mean, this happens all over the world, not just in Latam, where, you have someone who says, I'm the AI expert, and, goes to the university and says, I'm going to charge you $5,000 so I can tell you how a self-driving car works, right? And then you look up their CV and it's like, this person has no idea. So this actually happened to me once hopefully I wasn't the speaker like today, but they wanted to bring someone over and the university told me, Arturo, can you do a quick background check to see if this person actually knows what they're talking about? Because they say they founded this multi-million-dollar company and they're charging university like $10,000. I'm like, this is not the CEO of this company. Like, what are they even doing here? But he was foreign, and we were like, oh, this guy obviously knows what he's talking about, speaks perfect English. So I think whether we like it or not, as scientists from minority backgrounds, I still think we have a responsibility to some level communicate still this with the public, right, and not just rely on, let's just, the press will figure it out, because sometimes the press, and I've seen this, the press interviews the wrong person, or someone who clearly doesn't know linear algebra is saying, this is how ChatGPT works, and this is what SGD or whatnot, and well, maybe they won't talk about the newspaper, but there are certain things that you can tell that is incorrect, and even if it's not correct, I think it's the fact that they're trying to take advantage of the system that I don't really like. So I think not just training the next generation of science communicators is important, but also spotting them, vouching them, saying, hey, just like I spoke about Justin, right? This is an amazing, talented scientist who knows what he's talking about, like, invite her, right? I think that as academics, we should play that role as well and say, you know, more than sinking someone down, saying, hey, you know, this person definitely have bring them on the panel, you know, give them a talk, or have the newspaper write an article about them.
It was really like all the points were really great, and I wanted to just add on this factor that like just like align with what you said, like if we as a community can reduce the hypes, like unreal hypes around these topics, I think like so many things will be much more grounded. I mean, I was not at CVPR for a few years, and I had like visually observed that like the diversity in our field like reduced. At least like the ratio of women to men reduced for me visually. So I don't know about the stats around this, but I think like part of this is like because this field is not like now it's like there's so much like attention to this and so much power. So that's kind of like changing the dynamic that like people like probably the demographic also change and shift because like there are more like hypes around this. So I think like if we kind of like go back to reality and like inform next generation of like more